The pattern is called Flameflower, and if you'd like to draw your own version of this composition, stick around. Welcome to the Tangles and Tunes channel. In today's session, I'm going to guide you step by step through creating the very composition that you saw at the open of the video. We're starting here with the traditional 4 corner dots that just help us get comfortable drawing on our paper. We'll then follow it up by creating some simple straight lines that will help serve as a frame for our finished drawing once all the other patterns are in place. Then we'll of course go to our pens, and in the traditional Zentangle fashion we'll begin drawing. We'll start with some orbs in the center here, and the precise number is not relevant, but you want to keep the sizing similar to what I've done here just so you have room for the rest of the composition. And then just create that central orb with some smaller orbs around it to form the center of our flame flower pattern. Now I'm just drawing some curved lines. And I start with a curved or a C-shaped line and then a very subtle S-curve line on the opposite side of the petal. And you can switch back and forth from side to side as far as which side gets that subtle S-curve, but we just want to create some basic symmetry and also these general petal patterns. A very simple process. Gentle curve, C shape, and then an S-shaped curve as well. Now we're going to fill in the space between the petals we just created by making a pointed petal that also have those curved lines to them. And they can be both curved individually, C or S-shaped, or they can be kind of an arc, depending on how you would like to draw that shape and what sort of character you want to give to your version of the flame flower. But we're just going in between, and here again, going in between. Now these I chose to be a little larger and more almost like triangular shapes to distinguish them a bit more from the petals of the flower. These can be part of a leaf pattern that's going on behind the flower, or just larger base petals as you may see fit for your own drawing. But again, we're just continuing to fill the space between each of those petals. Now we're adding some embellishments to these different petals, and the first layer I decided to add some little lines to create like the veins of a leaf, and I'm just alternating little flick marks on each side of that curving central line. So I'm just drawing a gentle S curve that makes its way through the center of those petals, and then some little marks that indicate where the veins of that leaf might reside. And I just continue that process for all 5 of those initial leaf patterns. And once that's done, we'll move to the next set of leaves. And here I've decided to do a little bit of a curved line that's tethered at the outer edge, at that tip, and then it widens just a little bit as it comes down toward the base or center of our plant. And I'm going to actually end up inking these in, but here I'm just creating the pattern itself. So it's tethered or connected at the top of the petal, and then it widens just slightly to give it a little bit of width and dimension as it comes down. And repeating this same process for all 5 of those next layer of petals. Now here I'm creating a gentle aura or a narrow aura on those larger triangular shaped petals, just giving a little bit of a frame to that petal by creating that aura, which I will end up inking in later as well. And again, doing the same basic piece here to all 5 of these outer petals. Now I'm drawing some little stamen pieces that are coming up toward the center of that leaf from the center of the flower. And I'm just alternating one slightly longer than the other. It's just a single line with a little inked dot at the end. This just gives a little different character to that outer petal, distinguishes it a little bit from the others, and allows us to add a tiny bit of variety to this flower's appearance. And now here's where I begin inking those initial aura lines, those tethered aura lines I created on that second row of petals, just adding a little boldness and contrast to the flower's composition. We had quite a few lines going on there, so it's nice to add a bit of darkness and a little bit of contrast and boldness to that flower. And we'll do a few additional items as well. Now I'm adding what's going to become the basis of the beadline shape. And it's just, in this sense, a weaving line, a single line that weaves around and goes under and over some of these areas here and just creates a complete loop all around this flower. And this is just an embellishment detail. It's not necessarily, obviously, part of the flower itself, but just gives us something else to that focal tangle, some additional piece of design that we can add just for some visual interest. And so beadline is, as you can see, simply a line with little dots or beads placed in varying spaces around that line, and some of them vary in shape as I've applied it here. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I do try to space them about the same and put 4 or 5 little dots versus the large dots just to give some visual variety. Now I've gone back here and decided to ink in those central orbs. I did leave a little white dot, but that will be embellished again at the end so that those little glistening dot points are more easily seen. But here I'm just inking the process, or inking that in with the pen here, just to create, again, some more boldness or drama and contrast to the flower. Now I'm adding an additional layer of petals here that will go right through that bead line. Now I had a couple ideas as I was doing that, and you'll see here shortly that I had to kind of change my plan midstream, but I left it in so that I could show you one way to correct things when your plan changes unexpectedly. But here I just create those triangular shaped petals, or leaves, I think they are in this case, the way I've decided to embellish them. And I'm just drawing them right through the bead line where applicable, trying to keep them roughly the same size, along with a center line, and then just making little flick marks, alternating a short and a long one on each side. And then when I go to the opposite side of that same line, I just do the opposite. So where the short one is, I do a long one. Where the long one is, I do a short one, and so on. So they're kind of the opposite on each side. And I just repeat that process until all 5 of those spaces are filled in. Here I am now with the last of those 5 petals or leaves. And this process was unplanned. I knew the tangle, of course, that I was going to be drawing, but I did not have a planned composition. I just sat down and began to draw. And so here now I'm deciding to ink the border or the frame a little bit, since I've got the base pattern down. And framing compositions is a common practice in Zentangle, but it's certainly not the only way that we can do that to our images. There's hundreds, maybe thousands of ways that we can create more interest in our drawings. But I just find this to be a fun way that creates depth and layering by having the over and under going on with the frame itself, so that there's a clear sense of a background and then a foreground and a middle ground by using a frame like this. So here I'm just drawing that frame or that border in a certain width here by creating the 2 lines, of course, and I'm allowing it to duck behind those leaves, but I'm letting it go right through the bead line. That just doesn't matter, as you'll see here shortly. We just go ahead and complete everywhere that we could see that frame. We want to draw that line in there. Now here's where the big change for me came up. I decided to do something different with my bead line. And because I've already drawn some elements, those leaves obviously, behind it, now when I'm drawing this aura that I was going to use to create some space and contrast with the background, which I ink in here shortly, but I realized as I was doing this that the fact that you could see those leaves through it was going to prevent the idea that I had from actually taking shape. So you'll see here in a few minutes as we get into some inking and using gel pen and so forth that I end up having to redo this bead line so that it will create the effect I was hoping for. I thought about just restarting the drawing since I kind of made that bad call and judgment there in terms of over and under and overlapping things. But I thought, no, I'm going to leave it in there so I can show you a way that it can be corrected and you can still pull off the effect, or at least a type of the effect that I was hoping to do. And you'll see that here shortly. So I won't belabor that any further other than to say I end up having to draw that bead line several times because of the change I made midway through and how I wanted to display that in the background. So here I'm just beginning the inking process on the frame's background, if you will. So the background of the flower, the center part of the frame, is going to be inked completely black to help it recede in the background, but also it does add some more boldness, contrast, and drama to our overall drawing as we get more and more lines in a drawing with more and more patterns or more and more components. It sometimes is nice to have something that's just very heavy, deep, and dark and gives that contrast so that the lines themselves can really stand out more and not just get lost in a web of lines, if you will. So that's another reason that I like to do something like this. And in certain areas, as you can see, I speed up the process when it's just repetitive, but I allow you to see what I'm doing and then just speed it up to help it not become too tedious. And I'm just adding with a heavier pen a little bit of darkness or weight to this line just to give it more life, if you will. And now you can see here I've got my white acrylic pen. And I'm trying to fill in that area, the gap between the bead line and the outer and inner auras that I created around it. But as I said, I knew that that was going to create a problem for me. I needed to have the opacity so that you could clearly see that it went over and under certain elements. But by putting that opacity on there, which is fine, but by doing so, I'm clearly losing the details of my bead line. So you'll see here in a moment what I do to correct that, but here now I'm adding those little glistening spots to that centerpiece with the white gel pen. Now we're back to our black micron, and I'm inking in the outer auras or edges of those leaf patterns that we added earlier. And it does, of course, blend a bit into the background where it crosses over, but it does add a nice distinction, I think, between that and the next layer of leaves that you see there. So it just helps those to stand out and give us some more darkness in our composition. But in a moment, we'll start correcting that bead line. So basically, I drew the bead line, then I aurated it, inner and outer, then I put the white acrylic on it. Now I'm having to go back with my black pen and recreate, if you will, or at least redefine that bead line and the little dots that go in it. And then I also decide to create the auras all over again. So it is a repetitive process. There is a better way I could have done this if I had thought ahead in my composition or known exactly what I wanted to do. I could have drawn this with doing it just a single time. But again, I left it in here like this and show you the process that I used in correcting it so that I didn't have to start my drawing completely over. I didn't have to throw it in the trash and just start all over. I just had to make some compromises here and then make some adjustments to my drawing technique. And unfortunately, for time's sake, I did have to draw the bead line 2 or 3 different times to be able to pull off this effect. But in the end, I think it worked out really well. I was happy with it. And once we add shading and everything to it, it turns out to be a really neat look. Really fun embellishment to this Flameflower focal pattern. So here I'm doing the auras again, tracing that entire piece just to give it that standout. I want it to look clearly like a separate piece and not just something that got all blended in. And then just retracing some of these other leaf shapes to help them stand out a little bit as well. That's not always something that's necessary, but in some drawings I feel that the very thin lines get lost and don't really have the dynamic appearance that I'm hoping for, so I'll go back and retrace them or redefine them. As you can see here, I've got my mechanical pencil, and we are adding some graphite to the drawing. And here we're just doing the traditional Zentangle method. I'm adding shading. I'm blending that shading, and what we're doing is we're adding the shade where pieces overlap, or where they might create a shadow, or where I simply want some tone that will help define the form or shape of those individual pieces. And so that's really the beauty of the shading process, is that it starts giving a three-dimensionality to these pieces as they have an over and under overlap, and also the tone helps to define a sense of form and shape. And I say that a lot, but for those who maybe have not seen my other videos where I repeat that, it might be helpful to know. And that's why we do it this way, is it's a very simple technique to create a three-dimensional look to a very flat drawing. And we can add more and more shading where we think it's necessary. So you see I'm alternating between my pencil and my tortillon for blending as I try to get that basic effect that I want. So I'm also trying to create some overlap on the frame itself and little shadows cast by the leaves there. Now we're adding graphite all around the bead line because I want that to lift off of the plant a little bit where it goes over it, and help it to be its own separate element that looks dimensional and not just a line that's been drawn through a plant there. So we're trying to create that. And some of the graphite, and especially I noticed here as I'm doing the white highlights, just to add additional visual tone and qualities of light and so on here, I noticed that it was not displaying very well on the camera. I'm not sure why my camera decided to be so dim about the highlights this time around, but I think you can still get the idea. You're seeing where I place those highlights. I'm even adding some to the frame itself, just trying to give more contrast and more dimension to that overall drawing. Well, here you have the final composition for today. And let me just say thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing everyone real soon back here in the Tangles and Tunes channel. Until then, take care now. Bye-bye.